Shaping Success with Wes Tankersley is brought to you by Aggressive Marketing Solutions, your solution for all business social media needs. If you need a team of social media marketers and content creators to help you build your brand on social media, text WES 2020 to 541-709-6502 today. Get started building your brand on social media. Success is defined differently by every individual. Some have never even considered what it is. I hope when I get older I'll be successful. What does that even mean? Money? Cars? Big house? On this show, we strive to look at it a little deeper, learning from successful individuals on what they believe success really is and how to obtain it. Everybody, enjoy the show. This is Shaping Success with Wes Tankersley.
Hello and welcome to Shaping Success. I'm your host, Wes Tankersley. This is episode 17 with our guest, Shane Leketa, aka Liquid Shano. Shane, thanks for coming back for a second time. We had a little technical difficulties the first time.
It's all right, no problem. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, glad you could make it. So for those of you who don't know, Shane's a podcaster who I found on TikTok. He does some great work. I found him. He's got this really positive message that he tries to get out every single day. Shane, can you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so for me, I'm just a guy that's been through a lot in his life, in my own journey with my family and everything else. And I feel like what I've done is I've got a landscape of things to tap into. But if I share these things and I can go throughout my life and share best practices or share stories or share just positivity with people, I feel like I can really inspire folks to move forward. So for me, in my journey, I use my past, part of what I'm currently going through, to be able to help others to be successful, whatever it is, small little amounts of success to big successes or whatever it is. Through the podcast, through social media and everything else, I feel like if I can make impacts on people, that's the space I like to play in. And that's kind of like my whole telltale journey that I'm on right now and the things that I'm doing. That's where I'm parking and I love every minute of it. So it's been great.
Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about like what you, as you know, you're in the military and what you currently do and those types of things?
Yeah. So I did 11 years in the Navy. I was 11 years in the Navy. I was an electronic technician, was in a couple different wars. And when I was over there, it's funny you bring up the military side of it, because I think that there's a lot of things from the military that I draw from, whether it comes to camaraderie, whether it comes through friendships or comes through, you can really accomplish a lot of great things if you bring a level of mindset of can-do attitude and those kind of things in the most bleak of situations sometimes when it comes to the military. So I did 11 years in the Navy. I was on ships that used to carry Marines around. So we used to have to see these guys go off to different war situations. So it was kind of difficult to play in that space. But it really did develop and mold a lot of who I am after I got out of the military. I felt like as I got out, one of the other things that I learned is that you suffer from a lot of maybe depression after you get out, right? So you're in this camaraderie, you're with these friends, you're with these people that you're in wartime with, you're in these bonding types of situations, and then all of a sudden you are in the real world and you're faced with, okay, I don't have the protection of the military, I don't have those friendships that I really was close to, the people that I knew always had my back or got my six and whatever else. I got out and went in the regular world and I had to fend for myself. And so after 10 years, right out of high school, I really had to figure out how do I navigate this space and how do I really continue to move forward in a space where I want to be successful. I want to be somebody that makes an impact and those kind of things. So I had to start from scratch, almost like a baby, an infant going into the world after the military. It was a whole new experience for me, but I love it because it really did create the framework of who I'm becoming as I go along.
Yeah, give you that structure. I got a lot of that structure myself through sports and things like that in high school, where coaches really made a difference in my life, and that's kind of pushed me to do these types of things as well. So it's great that it kind of drives everyone together.
Yeah.
So after you got out of the military, then you said you kind of had a little bit of a hard time trying to readjust and figure that out. Where did it go from there? What came up after that? How did that work out for you?
Yeah, I had a bunch of like little small time jobs, little things that I was trying to be able to pick up along the way. I was an electronic technician, so I worked on radios and radars and all kinds of really important stuff. And I was in top secret clearance and all this stuff. And now here I am selling tiling to somebody at a flooring place or serving drinks at a bar, just trying to make things happen and move things forward. And so I felt like there was a long period of time, probably I'd say a couple of years, that were really just kind of, I don't know, in this weird place, just this depression, feeling kind of down. And it was interesting because my wife, who I found while I was in the military, and the reason I got out of the military was because of her, because I wanted to raise a family with her. And I realized all of a sudden, I was like, okay, she doesn't want me to leave for 9 months, 10 months out of the year. And I don't want to go. And so we decided we were going to, stay together. And so we've been together for over 20 years. But she's probably been my number one reason for everything that I do, because all the things that we've been through together, it was kind of what I was missing with the military. When I was in the military, I had this camaraderie and these friendships and these people that I could really rely on. She became that source for me throughout the whole entire time. She's seen me at my worst and she's seen me at my best. And she's always my number one advocate to be able to say, hey, listen, I want to work together with this. Let's do this together. I know you can do this. So she was the behind the scenes positivity person for me. And then I was the one, the extrovert, to be able to come out and be able to say that to other people, to help others. So that's kind of how the dynamic of it was after suffering through all that. And then getting to a place where we were happy in our relationship, happy in our lives together. And then I started to, I was still overweight at the time. So when kind of like to tie it back to after I got out, one of my coping mechanisms the whole entire time was overeating, and I ate food, and I was just, that's how I dealt with stress. And one of the things that I found is that I needed to get that under control. Internally, I thought positive. I thought I can do this, I can knock it out. But externally, I was still eating, and I was still, coping with bad habits and those kind of things. So my wife and I, it was about 3 or 4 years ago, we decided, hey, we're going to start to lose some weight. We're going to do this together, and we're going to go and be active and those kind of things. So I started this journey of weight loss. Well, in this whole entire space, I topped out at almost 400 pounds is where I was at my heaviest. And I lost 100 pounds. Now, during the 100 pounds, I got down to about 290, 292, which is a number's a number. It's pretty irrelevant, but it is important when you're trying to lose weight.
Right.
So for me, I sat there going, okay, if I got down to this weight of 290 pounds, I wanted to journal it. I wanted to talk about my journey to help others, because I know it's probably look at the obesity numbers that we have in this country and in the world with people that need help. They need help to be able to understand that it's up here in the brain more so than it is just about the food, right? So how are you processing? How are you coping? And so I started journaling. And I started to blog some entries down and writing, and people started resonating with a bunch of people. And I was like, wow, all these people started following my blog and following all these entries, and they were asking questions. So I was like, oh, I'm on to something here, because people want to hear somebody that's been through it, been through a tough time,
right,
that found some success. They're like, hey, tell me more. And so once I did the blogging piece of it, I was able to then, with the advice of a friend who said, I have a great voice for radio, is what he used to say. But he goes, I feel like you should use it to your advantage to be able to bring it out to people. And I said, okay. So I ran down to the Guitar Center. I picked up a microphone. I picked up a little mixer, plugged it in the back of my USB, and then just started podcasting. And I said, I'm just going to put it out there, because that was he recommended it. And my first few were like, just basically me going, hello, tapping the microphone. Hello. I think this thing is on. But now it's really grown into something that has been a point of positivity, a point of reference, a point of inspiration for folks. So that's kind of the long-term story of where my journey has gone into the podcasting world.
So that brought on has it always been Coffee Talk with Liquid Chano? Is that okay? And how long have you been doing this now?
Yeah, the name of the podcast, well, it was actually the name of the blog. It was for a while, because what I was doing, I was sitting down, and for me, when I first wake up, my mind's all over the place. I'm running all over the place. I'm thinking about a lot of stuff. So when I have my cup of coffee, that was when I noticed that my mind started to calm down a little bit. I started to, okay, now I need to right size my day. I need to plan things out. I need to see where I'm at, give myself goals, those kind of things. So I would sit down with my cup of coffee, and I just titled it, hey, this is my coffee talk right here. Me, a piece of paper, I'm writing this stuff down. Then I would enter it into the computer for a blog entry. So I felt like that was my coffee talk time. And the Liquid Shano portion of it was a nickname. It's funny. It was a nickname that was given to me as I was a bartender. So Shane, of course, and I have the bald head. So this guy used to say, "Hey, you're like Mr. Clean." And I'm like, okay. He goes, like Liquid Drano. And I'm like, what do you mean?
Oh,
That
geez.
doesn't have one thing, doesn't have anything to do with the other. But he called me, he said, "You're Liquid Shano." And it kind of stuck with me and all my friends. That's what they all call me. So I was like, all right, the Liquid or Shano. So the two of them got together, it melded, and went from the blog for the coffee talk, and then it went over to the podcast, and I just had it. So I've been podcasting now for almost 2 years. Almost 2 years is what my first podcast was. I put it on the air.
And it's pretty successful. I've noticed too. You've got, I can't remember what the download, it's over 10,000 downloads, right? Is that where it's about right now?
Yeah. My last check that I did today, because I usually update my Instagram page with the number of downloads, I'm at 167,000 downloads. And I just almost hit 2 million feed hits, which is like all the people that are out there that are tapping into it, that go and take a look at it. The downloads is with the way they rate the success of a podcast. But I like the feed hits too, because these are people that actually, even if they're skimming by and they're taking a look at it, these are eyes on your podcast to be able to say, "Hey, what's this all about?" So I'm so humbled, and it's just amazing the amount of traction that 167,000 times people have downloaded that to their device, their tablet, their iPad, their phone. When they're working out, they go for walks. I get messages all the time. "Hey, listen, last night I got home from work. I put you in my ears. I went for 2 miles or 3 miles," because most of the podcasts are about 25 to 35 minutes. They're just within that attention span. And the only reason I keep it that way is because that's my attention span. I can't sit there for more than an hour a lot of times on podcasts, because I lose in thought and whatever else. So it's just really overwhelming, yet amazing that people find inspiration through the words that I'm just putting out there, to be able to say, be your best version of yourself, or try to keep continuing to move forward in this space that I know is not easy, but we've got to move forward, and we've got to put one foot in front of the other and continue to be the best version of you, because we only got a short amount of time on the earth. So.
Right. And I've noticed too, the other thing that you've been doing as well is that the ones that I've listened to for the most part is just you, but you've started to add some guests in. I know you've had guests off and on, but I noticed that there's been a few now, like your last two, or maybe in between there, you've had guests now. Is that something that you're going to continue to do? And how do you go about finding those guests? What's your process for kind of vetting them and getting them on there for you?
Yeah, it's interesting, because I've already had a couple people approach me, and it's with you. You found me on TikTok. I've been finding so many people through TikTok. It's interesting. I'm thinking to myself, I'm going on this app that kids are dancing and people are lip syncing and whatever else. And I never would have thought that I would have found some quality content that I could relate to. But what I found was, if I can see somebody that has a good message behind the thing that they're bringing to the table, or some sort of inspiration that I find that resonates with me, I know that I want to have them on the show, because I can tap into that and talk about that as related to my story. Like last time, I think I had Dave Conry on there. I think you're talking to Dave Conry the other day. I had him on there, and he's an artist, right? He's an artist. He does paint, he does artwork, he does graphic design. But one of his big mantras on his was, do the work. And so what I told him was, I said, you have no idea the amount of people that could hear your message that you bring to the table, that you put as artwork or whatever, when you bring it to like artist aspect of do the work of the art, practice and do whatever. I said, I brought that to my weight loss community and some of the health community that I talked to, and they loved it. They ate it up to be in the fact of, oh, that's pretty amazing. You're right. Do the work, stay consistent, keep pushing forward. And so I resonated with that. And so I told him, I said, let me have you on the show. Let's go ahead and do it. So to your point, what I've been trying to do is we hit the 2-year mark. And I said to the listeners, it's been me the whole time. It's just me and a microphone and my journaling and where I'm at. So I've been through some of the topics, or I've repeated some stuff or things like that, which is okay. But I want to elevate, and I want to be able to bring the podcast to the next level of bringing folks in that can help other people from another dynamic and another niche or another group that can really help people and inspire people to move forward.
Yeah, that's funny, because as you were having Dave on there, we're going to do a couple today, and Dave is going to be my next guest. But Dave is one of those people just like you who inspired me. And the last, I think probably 5 or 6 people that are guests on my podcast have been from TikTok. And that's where I found them. That's where it's like, it's not what they do. Like Dave's an artist, but Dave's message is kind of like yours and mine. It's like, we're trying to bring positivity to this so that other people can see that it's not just about, what we can't control. Our lives are in our own control. And once we figure out that we can only control ourselves, it's going to be completely different. And that's what I love about your message. That's what I love about Dave's message. I've had a couple other people on mine too that are they bring that same message. And it's tough because we're living in that time where it's just not easy to do that. But,
no, it
goal setting and
staying
in. Yeah. And that's what I love about you listening to your podcast and listening to you talk is it's just like, hey, we still have to do the same things that we were doing before. We have to do them in a little different way, but we got to continue to move forward, because if we don't, we're just going to be depressed. We're just going to be stuck in our ways. We're blaming everyone else. So it's a great message. I appreciate you bringing that.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So one of the things, you're over 200. This is actually episode 17 for me. So I'm kind of going through, the growing pains, trying to figure things out and things like that. What advice would you give someone who is just getting started? Because obviously it's not perfect off the bat, but you get better as you go.
Yeah. So there's two things I think I've had this question come up a couple times. Even more recently, I did a couple other interviews or a couple things. One of the biggest themes that I bring to the table for anybody just starting a podcast or starting a blog or starting any kind of social media influencing or whatever, it's a wide range. It's a really crowded market, right? It's a crowded area. So there's two things that I say. I say, if you're going to do it for yourself. Okay, do it for yourself in the fact that you find inspiration from it. Don't worry about what anybody else thinks. Don't worry about what all these other people. The perfection piece, or as we call perfection, that comes with time, right? That comes with experience. That comes with continuing to move forward, continuing to try to be able to invest, and you get better. Well, like anything, like a muscle, as you train it, it gets better. The second thing is that if you find a passion behind it and you love it, stay consistent with it. Because if you're consistent and you continue to either put content out or continue to stay the course of the dream or aspiration that you want to be able to accomplish, if this is part of your dream or aspiration and your goals, don't take your eye off the prize. Continue to truck through and remove the noise, right? Because you're going to get a lot of people that are in the marketplace that are, there's podcasts everywhere. There's hundreds of thousands of podcasts everywhere that anybody can tap into. What I would say is, if you can find your niche or find a few people that you can inspire and really have a conversation with and build that small following, you never know what's going to happen after that point, and you just stay consistent with it. It'll grow.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I noticed about yours, and it's nice that it started out the way that it did for you, because you have a couple different things going on. No Finish Line Nation is huge. That's one of the things that I noticed, and you have lots of followers there, as well as all these downloads. So you've really created this following that probably started pretty small and just got bigger. Where did that come from? Where did this positive mindset come from? Because you talked about a little bit about how you were kind of in a little bit of depression, and that can obviously be kind of a negative thing. How did you get to this point where it's a positive thing instead of worrying about all the negative things?
Yeah, it's interesting because when you suffer depression or you fall into those ruts, it's easy to park there. It's easy to stay there. It's easy to fall deeper or use coping mechanisms that you probably shouldn't be using, drugs, alcohol, food, whatever else. And it's easy to really park there. I will tell you, for me, when things changed for me was about, I would say 7 years ago, about 6 or 7 years ago, my wife fell ill. And so she was in the hospital. And so we were faced with the fact that my son at the time was about 6 or 7 years old. We would go to the hospital, visit her, and we didn't know. The doctor was telling us, she might not live. She might not go any further than this. And it blew my mind because I was like, well, I haven't experienced everything I want to experience. And I haven't maximized my life with her like I imagined in my head, like I wanted to do with this woman that was my better half. And so I then started to realize after she came out of it, she actually healed and recovered very well. She's alcohol free. She's running half marathons. She's a baker. So kudos to her for all the hard work that she's put in. But I'll tell you what it did is it gave me it gave me purpose. It gave me something to live for, more than just, myself or anything like that, because I said, okay, we're together and we're a team. And I imagine myself living this fruitful and prosperous life with her together in love and doing all that stuff. And I wasn't doing that before, because I was already in this really kind of bad place, and I was just going through the motions. So after that happened, I dedicated myself to me, to saying that I've got to be a better influence and a more positive person for me and her, and then people all around me. I'm going to make positive influences, because I've only got a short amount of time with every single person that I come in contact with. Why not make a positive? And I'll tell you, the other thing about it is, I get from people, you're always so positive. You're always it's unicorns, rainbows, and whatever else. And I'm like, no, what I am is I'm a realist. I'm a positive realist. I know life sucks sometimes, and I know stuff gets thrown at us all the time, and life is not easy. And so my positivity comes from, what ways can I overcome the things that I can control within that whole dynamic, that I can move the way that I need to move it to continue to be moving forward in a positive direction. That's really where I like to park at when I'm talking.
Yeah, and that's great, because that's, I've said that a couple times. The control is in your hands, and you really, what you do with it is it's your choice. You can be negative, you can be upset about everything that goes on, or you can choose to look for the positive thing. And I don't know if that just happened for you 7 years ago, but for me, my change with that has been almost a year now, and it's kind of like, once I figured that out, I kind of unlocked this thing. I found this passion. I found the things that I want to do, and I found that I want to help other people do that. So it's great to see that people understand that, and we're putting that out there, that they know that it's possible. I'm 39 years old. Right. I've been thinking one way since I was 36, 37. And now the change is possible. It's all on you. It's all on what you're willing to do.
I couldn't agree more. I think that even though it might be a shorter amount of time, like you're saying that it's just recent for you, that the change in my brain started to happen 7 years ago, but the real true change for me happened right when I launched the podcast, and right when I started to get messages from people literally saying to me, you changed my life. You changed my life for the better. One person, it was a gentleman, that said, there's not a lot of guys in the weight loss community, but you helped me frame it up and get myself in the right place. You saved my life. And I was like, holy, like that's heavy, deep stuff, right? And I'm like, wow, right, man, I made that type of impact on somebody. And my wife was like, you have no idea, on your positivity and your energy of what you bring to the table. It really does make impact. So from that point forward, I was like, okay, it's almost like an adrenaline rush for myself to know that I just got to stay in this space, because people need it. I need it. My family needs it. And we just got to keep moving forward. So kudos to you, because that's hard work, man. That's hard work to be able to change what a lifelong way of thinking into going, you know what, I need to change this and do something different now. And that's a really big deal. And it takes hard work and dedication.
Yeah, and it's like you said, it's all about being consistent, because there's been so many times through this whole thing where people have kind of like tried, they don't necessarily know that they do it, because a lot of it comes from their insecurity, but they're trying to push you to believe that what you're doing is not right, not normal. And right, it gets easier every single time you say you're wrong, and you don't take that from them. It's like they didn't take it away from me this time. They didn't take it away from what I'm doing, and it gets easier. And that's the thing with change. Anything that you do, it takes time. So, yeah,
sure does.
So one of the things this podcast is about, this kind of final question here, we'll talk a little bit about where we can find you in a minute here, but it's called Shaping Success, because we're talking about the shape of your success, and what you deem success as. It's different for every single person. So my question to you is, how do you define your success? What is the shape of your success?
Yeah, it'd be easy for me to define success as being downloads or views, likes, clicks, because I play so much in the social media space. But I am anti that. I really am. Now, I'm not as aware. I wouldn't say I'm not aware, because of course I'm aware, but that doesn't define success for me. What success is defined for me is exactly what I mentioned a minute ago, where if I can make an impact on one person, it doesn't matter. Even if I go out there and I like on TikTok and I put out a message, I got my coffee cup and I just say, hey guys, you're awesome. You're going to do great today. Go make it happen. and then I end the video 15 seconds later, and then I get a message from somebody on direct message or anything like that that says, you have no idea how much I needed that today. That, in my mind, is success. That, in my mind, if I can make an impact on one person or thousands, either way, it doesn't even matter. If I make a positive impact on them to know that I've been there, I know what you're going through, and I can share some insight for them to help them get to where they need to, that's success to me.
Well, that's a great message. I'm glad that you're around. I'm glad that I found you. I really appreciate you being here. Where else can other people find you? You know, we talked about No Finish Line Nation. I know you're pretty much at Liquid Shano everywhere, but is there what's the best way to find what you're doing?
Yeah, the Liquid Shano 1973 is the tag for most of the social media platforms except for TikTok. On TikTok, I shortened it, so it's Liquid Shano. But any of the platforms, for the podcasting platforms, just look up Coffee Talk with Liquid Shano 1973. On YouTube, I've got Liquid Shano 1973, but I've also got another channel called Two Kitchen Tables and a Microphone, where me and a buddy of mine, who we both are in the weight loss community, we're both from Massachusetts. We got kind of a snarky, good feel to it, but we partner up and we'll bring people in for interviews. It's pretty cool. But his name is Jonathan Giordano. They call him the Mud Hustler. But we team up together that on that show. So I've got 2 YouTube channels, and I've got the No Finish Line Nation, which is a big, huge place for people to come to. It's a closed group that people can come to share, like they went for walks or they eat certain foods and they feel good about themselves, or they're drinking water, or they're struggling and they feel safe to be able to do so. So I'm pretty much everywhere, but if you look up Liquid Shano 1973, you'll find me all across the different social media platforms.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to be on here a second time. Thanks. You know, it's so great, so positive to get to talk to you about it, you know. But thank you very much for taking the time out of your day again.
Hey man, I appreciate what you're doing, and I appreciate you reaching out to me. I think that we can connect even more moving forward, because I think that we're both in the same, thinking or thought process of what kind of positive impact that we can make. I look forward to something we can do in the future too.
Yeah, I think it'd be great to collaborate on something and get it going. So I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening. I could really use your help with something. If this brought you some value, please share it with whoever you can. Go to the Apple Podcast and do a review for me. Give me a 5-star rating. And then until next time, I encourage you to find the shape of your success. Have a great weekend. This was
Shaping Success with Wes Tankersley, brought to you by Aggressive Marketing Solutions. If you need a team of marketers to help you with social media, all you need to do to start is text Wes 2020 to 541-709-6502. 541-709-6502. That is Aggressive Marketing Solutions. Have a great day. See you next time.